It's Tuesday, December 8th. This is the news on PBCJ. I'm Simone Absalom. Many persons are now thinking about travel vaccines when they're planning an international trip, but few consider the possibility of a vehicular crash. Motor vehicle crashes are a public health concern and affects residents and tourists. These injuries and deaths are preventable. Marlon Samuels has that story.
Minister of Tourism Edmund Bartlett will unveil a road safety improvement project that spans Oracabessa in St. Mary to Spot Valley in Montego Bay. The launch will take place at the Montego Bay Convention Center on Wednesday, December 9, beginning at 11 a.m. The project, which is being funded by the Tourism Enhancement Fund, includes putting road markers in place to help drivers. Markers will reportedly be done on the left and right verges. Highly reflective signs and retroreflective road safety devices called cat eyes or road studs installed. The measures forms a part of the ministry's support to improve road infrastructure and reduce accidents. For the news on PBCJ, I'm Marlon Samuels.
The Bank of Jamaica Amendment Act 2020 was approved in the Senate during its sitting on Friday, December 4. The act is set to develop and modernize the operations of the central bank. Minister without portfolio in the Ministry of Economic Growth and Job Creation, Senator Auburn Hill, led the debate.
Clause 19, Mr. President, repeals and replaces Section 36 of the Act with provisions that stipulate the establishment of reduced limits of credit that the bank provides to government and the public sector in any fiscal year where there occurs an event declared as a national emergency. Please note that this clause stipulates that the Minister of Finance would be responsible to declare that there is a national emergency for the purposes of this section. This declaration will be done by order subject to affirmative resolution. Now, this is important, Mr. President. In other words, the government of Jamaica no longer has a blank check. Must make sure that we manage the affairs of the country in such a way that we keep a tab of what we're spending and what we're getting in. We can't.
The bill, which has been in the pipeline since 2018, gives the central bank autonomy and independence in law in the implementation of monetary policy. No student or staff at any of the pilot schools reopened for face-to-face learning has contracted COVID-19. That's the word from Acting Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Education, Dr. Grace McLean. She was speaking at last week's Public Appropriation and Accounts Committee meeting.
But we can say that the pilot was a success, and it will now pave the way for us to make the adjustments that need to be made as we move forward with the reopening of our schools.
17 schools are participating in the pilot program, which commenced November 10 and have been continuing since then with no reports of health concerns.
The pilot has gone very well. The first week of the pilot, there were some issues in terms of the management of the lunch sessions for about 2 or so of the schools, as well as the school's ability to manage medical emergencies. By the end of the second week of the pilot, those issues were resolved, and based on the evaluator's report, we had very few areas that we could consider unsatisfactory.
Dr. McLean says the data was curated from a report by the Ministry of Health and Wellness. The country continues to see fluctuation in COVID-19 cases. Here are the latest clinical summary from the Health and Wellness Ministry.
87 new COVID-19 positive cases were reported over the past 24 hours. The total case count is now 11,271, with 3,561 of those cases being active. The three parishes with the highest figures are St. Anne and Westmoreland, who each returned 14 cases, and St. James, which had 13 cases. 146 recoveries were also recorded on Monday, pushing that tally to 7,292. The overall death total remains at 265. However, one coincidental death was reported. This case was formerly under investigation. A total of 86 persons infected with the virus are currently in hospital. 9 are moderately ill and 11 are critical. For the news on PBCJ, I'm Gabrielle Thompson.
The World Health Organization, WHO, is urging countries to conduct research on the prevalence of the novel coronavirus and the effects of the vaccines being developed for global distribution. Director General of the WHO, Dr. Tedros Ghebreyesus, says studies can help us understand how long immunity from infection lasts. The matter was addressed at a recent WHO virtual press brief. In January, the WHO launched Unity Studies, a global effort to standardize seroprevalence studies and use of serological tests. Director General of the WHO, Dr. Tedros Ghebreyesus, says more than 40 low- and middle-income countries are involved.
We're providing technical, financial, and operational support and building research capacities for these studies. We continue to work with our global networks to better understand the proportion of the world's population that has been exposed to this virus and how long immunity lasts in people who have been infected.
At least 3 vaccines have shown a strong promise to be released to the public next year. But with COVID-19 being relatively new to the scientific community, there are questions about the long-term effects of the vaccines. Dr. Ghebreyesus says the Unity Studies initiative will help fill in the blanks.
Which could also help us to understand how long immunity from vaccination might last.
The WHO's Dr. Maria Vankakov says the studies will help scientists understand the virus's impact on the youth as well. She says it has been observed that children who contract COVID-19 tend to display mild symptoms, if any, but they are still at risk.
But it isn't universal, so we do have some children who have developed severe disease, and we have had some children die. So it is really important that we take a risk-based approach. We look at schools as part of communities, because it's not only the children, it's the people who work there. But there are many places all over the world that have opened schools and have prioritized keeping schools open while keeping transmission low.
Some residents of the Cedar Valley community in St. Thomas are still cut off from vehicular traffic because of a blocked road due to the recent heavy rains. Melvin Pennant tells us more.
Heavy rains in late October into early November saw farms and roads suffering damages worth millions across most parishes. The Cedar Valley community and other villages above it lost a section of their main road. Work has already started to clear the debris, but some residents want more information about the timeline it will be completed.
And right now the road is cut off totally, and we need some farmer representative to assure the people what is going on.
They use this makeshift bridge to traverse the community.
Suppose somebody takes it now, what happened? I mean, everybody is comfortable with the situation. I don't understand what is happening. I just don't understand what is happening up here.
Minister of Local Government and Community Development, Desmond McKenzie, says $20 million will be initially disbursed to clear road blocked by flooding and landslides. He says the funds will be part of an emergency response while further assessments are being completed. Melvin Pennant, PBCJ News.
Here's a look at some of the latest market shifts. Gabrielle Thompson takes us through the business report.
As at December 1, applicants for driver's license renewal can now track their applications via the Tax Administration Jamaica's TAJ website. The administration says this is part of its thrust to expand its online service offerings and to promote contactless business transactions. Taxpayers who left their driver's license renewal documents at a tax office will, as of December 1, be able to check on TAJ's website to see if their renewed license is ready for pickup. The process is as follows. Log on to TAJ's website at www.jamaicatax.gov.jm. Enter your username and password. Go to e-Services and select the option Driver's License Renewal Status. Under the e-Services tab, enter information required for renewal of driver's license status to include your TRN and your payment receipt number. After completing online payment for the driver's license, taxpayers are required to submit these documents to complete their transaction. Applicants are not required to join a line to drop off their documents. The TAJ says it takes approximately 2 weeks for a driver's license to be available for pickup at the main tax offices that process and print them. However, the period may be longer to allow for dispatch to the other tax offices. Motorists, however, will be allowed to operate a motor vehicle using the receipt and current or expired driver's license for a period not exceeding 60 days. In Monday's trading session, the JSE Combined Index declined by 5,769 points to close at under 400,000 units. Overall market activity resulted from trading in 83 stocks, of which 33 advanced, 40 declined, and 10 traded firm. The Junior Market Index advanced by 5 points to close at under 3,000 units. Stocks advanced for 138 Students Living Jamaica, Blue Par Group Limited, and Caribbean Assurance Brokers Limited. Stocks declined for 1834 Investments Limited, Barita Investments, and Berger Paints Jamaica. Trading firm were AMG Packaging and Paper Company, Community and Workers of Jamaica Deferred Share, and Derrimon Trading Company Preference Shares. Trans-Jamaican Highway Limited was the volume leader with 15.9 million units, followed by Wigton Wind Farm Limited Ordinary Shares with 1.5 million units, and Jamaican Teas Limited with just over 1.5 million units. Now for the foreign exchange. The US dollar on Monday, December 7 ended trading at $144.81. The Canadian dollar sold for an average $111.83. The pound sterling traded for $192.04, and the euro ended trading at $175.97. Oil prices fell on Monday as a continued surge in coronavirus cases globally forced a series of renewed lockdowns, including strict new measures in Southern California. The restrictions in the American state called for bars, hair and nail salons, and tattoo shops to close again. Brent crude futures fell 16 cents to $49.09 a barrel. West Texas Intermediate crude futures slipped 19 cents to $46.07 a barrel. And that does it for this edition of the Business Report on PBCJ. I'm Gabrielle Thompson.
In regional news, internet services have been fully restored in Trinidad and Tobago after several hours without connectivity on Monday. The internet blackout occurred at 8 a.m. The Telecommunications Authority of Trinidad and Tobago said the connectivity problem to several service providers like Flow, Digicel, and B-Mobile was due to a disruption of an internet cable link via Curaçao.
Many began their workday with disappointing scenes like these on their mobile phones and desktop computers. And if having no internet service was bad, some were also unable to make and receive calls, leaving many frustrated. The Telecommunications Authority of Trinidad and Tobago said the source of the disruption was identified and was rectified by midday Monday. Top service providers, Flow, Digicel, and B-Mobile were all affected by the disruption to the international cable link. Online classes for some children were also suspended as a result. Flow Trinidad restored full connectivity for its customers who might have been experiencing issues with their broadband services. It said the issue also impacted other markets throughout the South Caribbean, including Barbados, Dominica, St. Lucia, St. Vincent, and Grenada. Customers in Trinidad experienced loss of or degraded services such as slower internet speeds and intermittent buffering when using broadband services. Digicel was also happy to announce that their fiber broadband services had been restored. They advised their customers to contact customer support if they were still having issues. And TSTT parent company for B-Mobile said the exercise to ease congestion on the mobile network proved to be successful, and as a direct result, B-Mobile customers would experience normal browsing speeds when accessing the internet from their mobile devices. TSTT said it invested millions of dollars in expanding its subsea capacity to provide route diversity in the event of any break to its subsea networks. The networks connect the company to the World Wide Web via the United States. TSTT said it also increased its back-end system to support the additional demand. All the organizations apologized for the inconvenience caused and assured that they worked to resolve the issue as quickly as possible. Mahalia Joseph Wharton, TTT News.
Data from a recent survey indicates that more than half of St. Lucians would refuse COVID-19 vaccines. This was revealed by former head of the Central Statistics Department, Edwin St. Catherine. 3 international drug makers have reported significant progress with development of their COVID-19 vaccines. St. Catherine says local authorities must step up their public education campaigns to dispel misinformation.
Would you be willing to take a vaccine for the coronavirus? The Global Environment Facility Small Grants Program enlisted the former head of the Central Statistics Department, Edwin St. Catherine, to gain some insight. After 2 confirmed COVID-related deaths, more than 200 cases locally, and worldwide economic shutdowns, St. Lucians are not convinced a new vaccine can offer them protection from the virus. St. Catherine unpacked the revealing data during the November 23rd People's Parliament session. More than half of the surveyed participants indicated they would pass on an opportunity to get vaccinated for COVID-19, even if it were endorsed by the island's chief medical officer.
Would you take the COVID-19 vaccine endorsed by the CMO? And you see there's a high level of skepticism about taking a vaccine to cure or prevent you getting COVID-19. And you see it's 56%, okay, saying no, they would not take the vaccine. And then you have 15% saying yes.
International drug makers AstraZeneca, Pfizer, and Moderna have recently reported preliminary results from late-stage trials which indicate their vaccines were almost 95% effective. The global COVID-19 case count stands at an eye-watering 58.2 million people. More than 1.3 million have died due to complications from the virus. Health authorities the world over are hopeful the recent vaccine breakthroughs could lead to a fast-track manufacturing and distribution process. Meanwhile, St. Lucia's former chief statistician explained the numbers don't lie. He says a vigorous public education campaign is needed to win over vaccine skeptics.
So if the policy is to vaccinate the population, there will be a lot of education work to be done to prepare the ground for that to happen. This result is consistent no matter how you look at it, whether you look at it with respect to age group, sex, education levels. All groups are equally skeptical about taking a vaccine.
To date, St. Lucia's confirmed COVID-19 count stands at 223 cases. Rihani Isidore, NBC Prime.
The deadlock between Barbados Workers Union and G4S Secure Solutions Barbados Limited about their pay dispute continues. An intervention from Prime Minister Mia Mottley has granted a 36-hour period without further industrial action. More from Barbados today.
The request was made after hours of talks between the two sides broke down yet again. In an update on the developments from Ilaro Court in the wee hours of this morning, the Prime Minister revealed that the security firm refused to deviate from the practice of hiring security stewards to perform the same duties as security officers at a lower rate.
It is inconceivable that a company can concede that since 2014 they have continued to act in a way that is discriminatory to a number of its employees. To be precise, 300 of the 640 employees who are responsible for guard duties. The other 340 are in fact security officers. Security officers receive the sum of $8.79 per hour, and security stewards get the sum of $7.24 per hour. The company further conceded that it has not hired a single person as a security officer since 2014 and has only hired people at the lower level of security stewards for competitiveness reasons. The company further acknowledged that it has not promoted a single security steward to being a security officer such that persons can be promoted to earn at a higher level for the task which they have done. The company further conceded that there has been salary increases for only members of the administration and that no security guard and no security steward has received any increase in rate of pay since 2014.
The Prime Minister said she was now waiting on a legal opinion from Attorney General Dale Marshall on the way forward.
It is against that background that the government of Barbados has made it clear that we will seek a legal opinion. And I've asked the Honorable Attorney General to not only present one on behalf of central government, but also the state-owned enterprises in which we are majority owners, that we would also want legal opinions from them in the next 36 hours so that we may examine all of our rights as government or as a state-owned enterprise in these matters, since it is not the intention nor wish of the government of Barbados to be a co-conspirator in a breach of the International Labour Organization's principles, conventions, or statutes. And it is against that background of our not wishing to be a co-conspirator to, an accessory with, an accomplice with anyone in breach of these conventions that I will wait for the legal opinion before we announce the next step that the government of Barbados will take with respect to G4S. It is against this background that we have also asked the Barbados Workers' Union to stay their hand with respect to further industrial action for the 36 hours.
Ms. Motley said the government will then meet to discuss the legal opinion, which it expects on Wednesday, before consulting with the union and the company.
I equally hope that the company will reflect on the import of what they have put on the table tonight, because I do not know how you can admit that something is wrong and then ask for permission to continue or to break for 30 days and continue again with what is wrong. And if that is how business is done in other parts of the world, then I can say to you what I've said on too many other occasions, not about here. That is not what we will allow as part and parcel of our industrial climate.
In sports, the West Indies bowling attack will be weaker for the Wellington second test starting Friday. This as seamer Kemar Roach returns home following the death of his father in Barbados. The 32-year-old played the opening test last week after receiving news of his father's death, but now will leave the tour this week. The West Indies will need all the help they can get as they attempt to level the two-match series after suffering a heavy innings and 134-run defeat in the first test at Cedar Park. He picked up 3 wickets in the first innings of the recent test to go past the legendary Sir Andy Roberts on 202 wickets. And that's the news. Join us tomorrow, same time, same place for the news right here on PBCJ, the People's Station.